Well, let's go to a couple mocks. I'm still waiting on the no ceilings mock. That'll probably come out right at 9 o'clock, but I'll give you a couple mocks here. Let's start with the Ringer. The Ringer did their mock draft, and they got to the Blazers. And with the 11th pick, they have mocked Maryland freshman Derek Queen to the Portland Trailblazers.
Take centers with back-to-back picks.
He's more of a forward. He's 6'10", 245. Okay. We also got sizes of dudes. Ace Bailey went from 6'10" to 6'7".
They did all the measurements out there at the Combine.
They did. Cooper Flagg grew an inch because, of course, when you can get the number one prospect, he's going to grow an inch.
Of course.
I think he gained like 15 to 20 pounds.
He gained 20 pounds.
Yeah.
His wingspan is
Duke's
insane.
one of those schools I could see going the other way in the program, like saying they're smaller than they actually are.
Sure.
I see that from
If you
Duke.
cared at all about having any other pick outside of one, which I thought everybody wanted, but, based on some of the rhetoric, it's like, well, there was only one pick and we didn't get it, so who cares?
Number one or bust.
Dylan Harper measured at 6'4.5", so that'll be damn near 6'6" in shoes. He's got a 6'10" wingspan.
Yeah, it's a pretty sizable point guard right there. Would have been nice to have at the number 2 pick.
A little bigger than the old scooter.
Yeah.
Here is what they write about Queen on the Ringer. Queen is a bit of an odd bird. Off to a great start. A mostly ground-bound scoring big who can bully opponents largely, but largely doesn't. So he can do it, but he largely doesn't.
Sounds like he's going to fit right in.
His craft around the basket and consistent ability to get there, whether facing up from the foul line or picking his spots as a rolling screener, are nearly peerless in his class. His role on defense and iffy shooting loom over his upside, but Portland's roster is big and long enough to cover him on the former, while his passing and broad offensive skill set should find a nice playmaking synergy. I see the Queen stuff, and I read about him before this, and basically I read it as like ceiling for him is Julius Randle or Randolph.
Yes, that's what you're
Zach
looking
Randolph or
so
Julius
if you
Randle.
see Portland all of a sudden announcing the hire of Zebo as an assistant coach, then you know Queen's going to be the draft pick.
He's one of the tougher calls in this draft class, a true glasses half full or empty type player.
Depending on your look at it.
He's an older freshman, but he's also a behemoth with uncommon nimbleness and open space and surprising balance and body control.
I mean, essentially what you're looking at with the 11th overall pick, and not that earlier picks aren't this as well, but you're looking at somebody, if you draft there, that is, I mean, you're taking a freshman who, I think he hit the only game winner in March Madness this year, so that was a fun highlight for Maryland.
Of true buzzer beaters.
Of true buzzer beaters, I think he was the only one that hit one. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's, it's 2 to 3 years to develop to where you want him to be. With the 11th overall pick, that is the point. Not that earlier picks can't be that. Portland clearly has taken a guy with the 3rd overall pick who's going to take a number of years to season and get there, but you're not going to get an immediate difference maker the way that this organization was hoping for.
Well, also listed as a center, I think he'd play at the 4. I think you could talk yourself into that being okay because he's 6'10" and he can shoot a little bit and he's a pick and roll guy. Weird fit with Klingon is
Very
what
weird.
It sounds like from just reading some of the early intel on him, because he was also mocked in ESPN's mock.
Yes.
Now, we'll go through more mocks. We'll build it up as we go and get closer. But they write very similar things. Conditioning, occasional apathy defensively, and lack of shooting range are things NBA teams will be looking at with this guy. Also talks about how Portland is ahead of their scheduled rebuild because they went 23-18 over their final 41.
Yes, we're red hot and rolling.
All of that unexpected winning diminished their lottery odds and has them starting at a 3rd tier of prospects with plenty of talent but obvious flaws. His lack of shooting might not be ideal fit on paper for Portland, that has already struggled from the perimeter, but his talent might be too big to pass on, especially if Klingon can make a jump with his shooting and showing that in his flashes.
Yes, baby.
And here's the other part of this. I didn't even get to this because I ran out of time. I know. I'm over the clock. We could get Derek Queen. Let's just say the mocks are mocking. Okay? Maybe that's right.
Maybe it's correct.
By the way, Mailsack coming up at 8:15, or I'm at 8. I find it interesting that, they're telling us how close they are. They're going to take this kid who's 20 and clearly really raw.
Clearly a project.
So is he going to come off the bench and substitute Jeremy Grant? And then, are we going to be sold that that's going to put us over the top, a 20-year-old who's not a finished product?
Is he going to play 12 minutes a game next year because Jeremy Grant's still here as your 4?
Well, if he's not going to play defense, because remember, we're built around defense.
Then you
got to
have to sit him down. Anthony Simons is a lockdown defender on that end of the floor, so that's the only way that you get playing time for Chauncey Billups.
His defense is a common theme that I've read about with him of, he's not the most engaged defender. Now, it's college. Maybe he'll change his tune in the NBA.
That's usually how it works out, right?
But I largely don't think that'll happen in year one. It's something you got to develop. I just I'm just fascinated with all of this, and we can be critical. Some of us are going to be, hey, man, yay, Blazers, no matter what.
No matter what happens.
I just find it all very interesting from our vantage point of doing media stuff of, we're close, but we're going to play a 20-year-old high-level minutes who maybe not is a great defender. It's very interesting. The mocks and the process of the workouts, all of it, fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think it's why I put up a poll question last night, and you did one similar prior to knowing what the lottery odds were. And once we found out what the 11th overall pick was, and we talked a little bit about this on the show yesterday, what do you want him to do with the pick? Do you want him to trade the pick or keep the pick? Because this is where I feel like they're telling you two different things at the same time. They're going to tell you publicly that, man, we had this huge growth this year, and look at our improvement. And what were we, 23-18 in our last 41 games? And look how good we were defensively. We took massive strides. Next year, we take another stride. I'm going to be competing for the playoffs. If that truly is your path and your belief behind the scenes, there is zero doubt in your mind that the 11th overall pick is going to do nothing to change your circumstances in the next 2 to 3 years. If you draft a player at this pick, as we're just talking about with Derek Queen, and we can go through the other mocks of the guys who are, linked to Portland with that selection, those are guys that are projects. They're 2 to 3 year development guys that maybe in a couple of years you get something out of it and he becomes a key rotational player. The odds in the history tell you your chance of landing a superstar with the 11th overall pick are few and far between. So you're looking for a role player. Another role player does nothing to change your circumstances in the short term. So on the one hand, you're telling me we're close, we've developed, we have our superstar on the team, we're ready to kind of move in that direction. But on the other hand, if you just stand pat and draft a guy 11th overall, you're telling me you don't think that's truly how your organization outlook is over the next 2 to 3 years.
I think they're going to take the pick because rookie scale contract. But yes, I think if
this is a business.
If you are as close as you say you are, as your coach suggests you are,
then there's not a doubt in my mind that you trade the pick and go get a difference maker. Being open to trading
that pick is what I would say should definitely be just as worthy on the table as taking a 20-year-old who may or may not play defense at all and struggles shooting the basketball.